I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown the cast fee. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. Unfortunately, Cats at Jellicle Ball is closing way too early, and it deserves a much longer life. But I'm thrilled to capture this experience while she's still performing the show. She's currently Demeter in the Jellicle Ball, so welcome, Bebe Nicole Simpson. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. So glad you finally got me. It's been what, like maybe
years
2
coming
years of
now.
trying to speak.
Yeah.
So bad.
I loved when at the opening night, the first thing you did when you came up to me is like, I owe you an answer. And it was because like we've gone back and forth on trying to figure this out from even the downtown run.
Seriously.
And I was like, it's okay. We'll make it happen.
Thank
So
you for your
we made it
patience
happen.
and your tenacity. Yes. I appreciate it.
We are here. Okay, I want to start. I always love to start, especially for the Jellicle Ball group, your Cats introduction. So you obviously did the pack downtown, but like, when was the first time you saw Cats in general? Like, you are a theater person. You've got a ton of theater credit. So was it early in your theater life?
Oh, I am a theater person. However, I'm the worst theater person there is, just as hard as it was to get me on this podcast. I also I went to a high school we were the first graduating class. We were the first class. It was brand new. We were the first class to be there all 4 years. And so there was nothing established. A theater department wasn't even established until my junior year. So not to say that I couldn't have gotten introduced to musical theater then, but I was not a theater kid in that sense. I wasn't introduced till way late. So with Cats, I wasn't introduced until auditioning. I actually had no idea. I was blind as a kitten coming into Cats. So all of my research has been done. And I'm kind of that person anyway. Once I get a role, I just dive into the background. That really fuels me to dive into history. But of both worlds, of both Ballroom and Cats, I was brand wide. So it's pretty exciting to learn, you know what I mean? Exciting coming from that perspective of novelty.
Yeah. So I thought we'd get into this later, but we're going to dive into this part right now then, because the Demeter story in Cats and the non-Jellicle Ball Cats is kind of dark. And it's one of the few things that everyone is 100% set on. And it's not the same in the Jellicle Ball. So when you were doing this research into the audition process and what this looks like, what did you uncover about Demeter?
So especially when I didn't know that we weren't going to be humans, right? This was my audition. I was in Kenya on a trip with my best friend Amber, and I was doing all the research I could on that Wi-Fi, whatever various Wi-Fi I could catch at the time. Yeah. And what I did uncover was that she was skittish. That some people have the background of her having a hard time with Macavity. I don't know. They have.
I was gonna say, you could say it's an abusive relationship. That's the one thing that everyone agrees on in Cats, and that's so strange to me in its own world.
Yeah.
That's one of the few things that everyone believes. But you all play it so differently.
We really do. And there's different ways to interpret how somebody would come to saying all the things that we say about Macavity. So it makes sense that the only things that we know about Macavity is what we sing about it. You know what I mean? Or her in our case. And in the context of Cats, it would make sense because also, Macavity is a completely different character. So it makes sense that we would have a completely different relationship then to Macavity being a house mother. So now my perspective goes from speaking on Macavity being a master criminal. Bomb Ballerina has the lines about the fur being matted, like all of the negative things that we say. It then shifts from it being our perspective to being the world's perspective onto our character, onto the character of Macavity. So that's kind of how we had to switch it up. I then go from classically being like afraid and disgusted when I sing about Macavity to amused about how the world perceives my mother. Master with like the bafflement of Scotland Yard's. That's amusing. The cops can't catch her. They're baffled by what it is that she can do. Yeah. So it was an adjustment, but kind of an easy one to make because they had such a clear view of Macavity and all of the like. That's the thing about the characters too. Like my character and Bomb Ballerina's character. The only time we get mentioned is in the beginning, right? The naming of cats. So like. The cats that have a song about them, for the audience to understand more of who they are, is they have such an advantage, right? As far as context clues of who their character is. And with us and with me, I could just make it up, but all the lore is coming out, right? Like Monkey Strap and Dudney just found out that there was supposed to be like a love thing between them. I had no idea.
I should have replied to you. I replied to Dudney when he posted that because there's like it's not played in every production, and a lot of the lore comes from that there's belief that Monkish Trap, Macavity, and Tugger are brothers, and so there's a little bit of that of like if the brother treated you poorly, there's some protection there. And then there's also a lot of staging together where they're dancing together near each other. So a lot of the like relationship lore comes purely from the two dancing side by side and in the other productions.
Yes.
But that one's not played consistently.
Got you. Well, the Tugger, Macavity, and Monkey Strap like relationship is played in our show as well. We kind of, in our background, they come from the same house. They were all under Old Deuteronomy and then went to House of Glamour. And Grisabella and Macavity in particular were sisters in the House of Glamour. Sisters, but yeah. Well, no. I think it's Grisabella that becomes the mother of the house, and then they all break off from being Old Deuteronomies. Right. That's what it is. They weren't under the House of Glamour. Jenny Annie-Dots had been in that iteration, was that House of Glamour. Yeah. But they all decide like siblings in different ways.
Yeah, it's so fun too because like the lore of cats is what the reason that this podcast even kind of started. It was
really
like when I started digging into the lore after my joke of Grisabella being the wrong choice. There was so much lore that I was like, wait, there is way too much to dig into. And then as you uncover it and you talk to different people doing different productions, it's not consistent. And that's kind of the beauty of the show is that it doesn't have to be. But it also makes for some of like the really funny lore possibilities because if you assume this thing and this thing, but not this thing, then like that makes some weird dynamics just depending on how you play it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, to the audience in a lot of those cases.
Right.
But as a performer, it's got to make it more fun. And I think the reason the Jellicle Balls work so well and the reason it was so like widely raved about is the story was so much clearer because you had those relationships a little bit clearer. You had the why they're together a little bit clearer. It was a lot more of a through line than you have. Now, I'm a defender that I think there is a through line in the Cats if you're knowledgeable of it, but it's really hard to catch the first time you watch it.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case in the Jellicle Ball. I think you right away know what you're watching in the Jellicle Ball.
Thank you. That makes me want to like ask questions to you and how when you first watched it, like did it, knowing all the lore and being so acquainted with all the lore, like What were the things that took you by surprise?
So I went to the second performance at the Pack, and I sat at the very front table at the end of the runway, and I had no idea what we were walking into, because at that point I had done an episode with Bill and Jalen and Will and William, and but it was like 25 minutes. Like, it was a very brief. That's all the time they had before the show started, and so they kind of teased it, but conceptually it's really hard to grasp as a Cats, like, knowledgeable Cats person, and there's a lot of like Cats purists that kind of I think struggle when they come, but I'm always like, you need to go, because I think if you're a Cats purist, you're still gonna love it. And when I sat down, I was amazed, because the overture hits right away, and the music's the same but with like some fun tweaks, and the only stuff that's like changed besides the ballroom elements, which are what to me makes the story clearer, is there's some relationship personality differences, and they're not vast, but a few smaller things. And that was it. And I'm sitting there going like, this is still at its core Cats. So I'm like, if you love Cats, you should love this. There's no reason you shouldn't love this. Unless, I guess, the only thing I'll defend is if you're like a diehard choreography, Julian Lynn choreography person, like, you're not getting that. You're getting elements of it, which Amari and Arturo brought in pieces really well into that. But like, it's different. It's a different experience. But it's still Cats. And so like, I send everyone who's a Cats lover, I'm like, you're going to love it. You're going to mouth the words. You're going to know all the lyrics. And if you're a Cats hater, it makes it so much clearer, because you take the costumes away. You take some of the weird storyline away. I just think it was something for everybody. And so I was like, my like jaw was on the floor the first time I saw it, and I walked out just so thrilled that like it came together in such a beautiful way and answered a lot of questions. The only thing I did say is I saw Jalen right after that first performance I saw, and it makes my argument against Grisabella much harder, because that story tells that reason much harder, because it's the heaviside layer is not death, which is what I believe it is in the other productions. It doesn't feel like death in the ball. And so that's that was my only kind of gripe, is I was like, this makes my entire show premise a little bit harder.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Also, because in that production, when she went up the ladder, she opened the door and it was like, a honking car. It was like, it's very clear that she was going to the outside and not necessarily to. In this iteration, in the Broadway iteration, you know, you got the smoke coming down, the fog coming down from the sky. It does kind of feel a bit more like that, you know.
Feels more like it, but still doesn't feel like, because she comes back out in
it's renewal,
in the gown, and like it feels more like she's being brought back to the ball, versus the other one. It's like you sing Memory and they look like they're about to die, and then it's like, all right, we're gonna send you off to the sky. So that's the biggest piece that I said. But I've been such a fan, and I like, again, we're pushing for the cast album, and I know you just recorded the archival footage, so hopefully there's ways to get this out there for more people.
I really hope so too. Just for Dudley's work alone.
I know. I want to go back to the beginning of like the Pack kind of piece, and then flipping it to Broadway. So obviously you were in the Pack run, and you had this massive success off Broadway, but then you kind of had to change some elements and make some tweaks to fit a new house and have a Broadway stage. So what was that transition like, going from this like built theater, almost it felt like, for this performance to a Broadway house that has to kind of adjust a little bit?
Yeah, totally. I honestly, I spent the first week of our previews so worried, and like going out and trying to collect as many opinions from the folks as possible, because it became so clear to me how big of an obstacle the stage was in the Broadhurst. And even just for Bill, like when we would talk later, he was like, this was a puzzle for us to figure out how far out we could bring the runway. You need a runway. It couldn't be shorter. Every ball has a runway, like it's a characteristic of this phase. But the path, like there was no bad seat in the house. None. Every place that you sat, you can cue in onto what's happening. There was a lot to catch. But like, even if you were sitting in the back, because it's like it's so raked. Everybody in the back could see like the balconies. Yeah, there's just so much access to the stage, and the stage was huge, but it was like 500 seats less.
Yeah.
So I think in this phase, I'm used to stage where you have to play out to the back of the house. And I've done, plenty of outdoor theater, plenty of spaces where, as a stage actor, you learn that you have to connect with those in the very back, where I think it was an adjustment for us all from the pack to this phase. Like, there was things that you could play a lot smaller that everybody still have access to because of the way that we were able to be in. But we all had to adjust out. There was times where, like, I realized that whatever little bits that I had to formulate them in a way that everybody had access to them, because otherwise they wouldn't hit. Like, it was really the staging of it for me that was the hardest to figure out. And I still am like queuing in on things that work and don't work.
Well, let me ask you about that,
Yeah.
because I've sat now. I mean, I've been fortunate to be able to go a couple times.
Oh, cool.
Which, a lot of people have not. People. To be fair, there's like somebody like Jordan who was just on the podcast who's been over 50 times, and then most people get to see it once. And so there's having sat in various places across the theater, some honestly just by chance in a lot of cases. I feel like this production, you have almost a slightly different experience depending on where you are, because of who you get to interact with. And I think that, like, to your point, you usually play out to the back of the, the orchestra or the mezz or whatever, because you're always facing out there. But like, I sat behind you. You were out for this performance, but I sat behind where you stand on the table at the beginning of Macavity. Like, I sat right behind. I was right behind those seats, and so there's a lot of moments where it's Tugger and Skimbleshanks and Macavity and you and that are right there. And so, like, I feel like I got more of a experience with you all. I couldn't see Junior where I was sitting, so it's like that was the part I lost. But there's other times where I've been in other spots where, like, all of a sudden Monkish Trap is in front of me or Syllabub is over here. So I do feel like you have almost a different experience being able to play some of those smaller moments. Like, I told Emma, I don't know what she said, but she had our whole stage section cracking up in the second act with some comments that, like, I could barely hear. So that group got to hear, but there's nobody in the orchestra that heard that at all. Right. So you get a little bit of those moments differently.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There is different. And I think we're close to, I really love the fact that we have those bleachers there. I think that is kind of what keeps the closeness that was there at the pack automatically. And then you have the banquettes. I always it's always a good time if the people that I'm sitting next to on the banquettes, next to the house in the Macavity, are good and interactive and happy to be there. There's times where they're not, which affects the things, but when they are, it's like, oh, we keep all night. Now, those and the two people who are sitting right next to the stage. And so many audience members ask, like, oh, were those, it takes them a minute to realize that those aren't actors and that they're actually paid audience members.
No, and I couldn't get those seats anytime I looked. I mean, they sold very fast. You can get the stage seats, but even the table seats kind of by you, those are hard to get.
Really?
They were really hard to get for a long time. You could find the ones kind of where I sat, which was like, I was the far end, kind of I don't even think it's kind of partial view. It might be even marked partial view. But it's the farthest you can get on that side.
Gotcha.
Behind you. So that was kind of like when the minute that you get on the table, I'm like, you're literally right in front of me. Like, that was where I was for this one.
Oh, that's fun. That's so fun. Just shaking my ass, Frank, when people faces. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. I'd love to hear a little bit about the like, you know, not knowing as much about ballroom, like coming from the theater side, how you learned about it. I mean, obviously you had legends and icons and these like unbelievable people to teach you, but how did you kind of embrace and learn that piece of it to embody the characters in that part that you would need to be able to perform as?
I am a frequent and avid student of YouTube Academy. I am on YouTube. Thank God for that resource. Honestly, it has replaced libraries in many as a sense. But I dive into as much research as I can find concerning that. I of course watch Paris is Burning. I found every documentary I could. You have people like Xavier, who plays Jenny Anidat, who's really good at like sharing book resources and all of that. And especially going into the Broadway run, I did take classes with him, along with him, Omari's classes and such. But like looking up not only the history of ballroom, but like the physical vocabulary of voguing was super necessary for me because I was very nervous about it. Naomi Maldonado, who is my dear friend now, mother, and icon in the ballroom scene, and Macavity in this production, we get to room together. Me, her, Garnet, who plays Von Ballerina, and Nora, who plays Les Verdones. We all share a room. We call it our auntie room. And like, I do feel like in this iteration, I've gotten to dive into and gotten a lot of like ballroom lore from her, right? But it's really imperative for me in order to have kind of a rich sense of self to accumulate as much background information as possible. So I'm like, there was a series on YouTube done by Vice called My House, I believe. Oh, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong when they find it. And it was basically like a reality TV show that they did following certain ballroom houses. And people, like individuals in the ballroom scene. And so I've watched that. Like, it's about watching and absorbing for me. The relationships, the real people is really important to me. Yeah.
Have you gone to your first ball? Have you been recruited for houses? Like, okay.
I went to the ball, to a ball the first time. Oh yeah. Yeah. That is a thing. I'm a bit on the, older side. So I'm not out as late as I used to be, but, the first iteration at the Pack is when I went to my first ball. And it was guided by brother Zedney. And I think also like it was a partnership with the PR at the Pack with the ball. And so it was kind of like cat themed. There was another one this year, but I didn't get to go. And Omari recruited me. Omari and Arturo both were trying to like hype me up, especially at that time. They were like, oh, you could walk bass, you could some. I'm like, I just could not never, but I would be so nervous. I have to, like, I'm one of those people who has to, I'm a perfectionist. So I feel like I have to be really good before I embarrass myself at a ball by walking.
I love that you talked about the not being out as late, because I did see all the press for this, the one from this one, and I remember it was I couldn't go anyways, but I remember seeing it. I was like, it starts at 10 or 11.
Baby.
Like I was like, that's the starting time. Like, oh, this is different life here. This is a different world than I've lived in. But it looks so fun for every time. Like that's the part that I've always said about the show, and just in general, is there's so much joy with like the feistiness and like the fun and the competitiveness and like the spirit of it all, but also still so much like just pure happiness and joy that you get from the community that's coming together.
Yes, that are in their element, that are feeling safe, not necessarily from each other, because there's still like cattiness. It's all
Yeah.
based on judgment, which can be like harsh and like embarrassing, but like safe in the sense of nobody's worried about getting killed and nobody's worried about like being ashamed for their identity, you know?
Yeah, they're who they are and in
Who
a
they
place where
are.
that's accepted. But
Yes.
in a competition style, like
Yes.
we still want to beat you. We want to like
Yes.
we want to win these trophies and everything, which I think is
Yes.
fun. I related it a little bit to I posted about the WNBA. And it's like
Okay.
I feel like that has some like similarities in the sense where it's like they're competing and they're like getting after each other a little bit, and there's a lot of
Yes.
kind of trash talking, but then they're at their all-star weekend and it's like they're all hanging out and having fun and like
Yes.
because they're part of like a very small group together that gets to do this.
Yes, definitely. And when you get groups of, again, there's always going to be dissension or whatever, but it's just different than being out in the world and exposed to that
Well,
kind
it's
of actions.
family.
It's
That's
family.
a part of Cats that's like so true, is that there's this like the Jellicles are a family, it feels.
Yeah.
And they might have some like, yeah, we don't really get along today, but like you've got that relative that might be bugging you a little bit, but they're still
Definitely.
your relative, you
They're
know?
still
And
your relative.
that's the way I look at it. But
For
I wanted to
sure.
hear from a little bit for you about, since you do get to walk a couple categories, do you have a favorite category you get to walk?
Ooh. You know what? This one, Shake That Ass is fun, but I do love walking body because I love the costume and I only get to wear it for like a short period of time. And I also love it now too because I was very afraid of doing it the first time, you know. I think people just in this world and in our generations, millennials, Gen Z, like, you know, the people who kind of blossomed in the era of the internet, I think something that is very common and unfortunately almost embraced in our, you know, time is like body dysmorphia is, you know, a harshness, a criticism towards ourselves in our appearances. So I definitely had that, you know, and having to, well, first of all, being picked to walk body, right? They looked at the people who they hired and they were like, okay, what categories can we put them in? And the fact that they put me in body, I kind of was like, oh, okay. Women's body I'm walking. And Queen Jean with that costume in particular, just like tailored it to my comfort level, you know, drew the bikini where if I felt most confident in my body. And you know, it's again a brief moment, but I love that costume. And I also never get to see it. I've only seen it once actually in person because I wear it.
Really?
Yes. So I don't know what it looks like from afar on me and on my body. I don't actually have much footage from it, but the one time that I did see it, which was during tech, and I had to wear it, we were teching it. I got to snap a little picture, but it definitely reminds me of how far I've come as far as how I perceive myself. And it also helps that like in ballroom, femininity in particular is so embraced in a way that it really kind of shifted my perspective of things. Like Laomi, I remember telling her just how self-conscious I am about my cellulite, right? Cellulite, something that over 90% of women just in the world have. So not only is it normal, but it's abnormal not to have it, right? It's abnormal not to have it. But we've all been conditioned to believe that it's something that is undesirable. And, you know, if the world didn't feel the way they did about cellulite, I wouldn't care about it. But when Naomi, she was like, when I first got cellulite, I thought it was cunt. And I was like, you know what? Because she's like, it's intrinsically tied to femininity. And I was like, you know what? My cellulite is feminine. It is cut. Let me just like, yeah, let me embrace it. Let me not be as
I love that. What a
self-conscious as I've been about
perspective
what
shift. Yeah.
it really is. It really is. And for somebody who said dysmorphia about it and about, we're conditioned to kind of be displeased with what it is that God has given us. I embrace that. She doesn't know how much that did for me.
That's incredible. It's such a probably a small moment that she maybe even doesn't remember, but has such a profound impact on just the mindset shift of like,
yes,
yeah, this can be celebrated versus the, like you said, there's a lot of the social media and conditioning of what is right and what is not. And I love that the world is getting a little bit better at that. And honestly, the entire show, like your show does a lot for that too. Like the Buster Jones number.
Exactly.
In the other cats, it's kind of more about like being gluttonous and rich and posh and everything. And this is much more about accepting Buster Jones for who they are and the like walking body and, having that moment. So I love the first time the PHAT fat came out. I was like, oh, this is so great. I was like, this is great.
So smart. Yes. And I think ballroom in general has been monumental for that reason. Like people come into those communities and get a different view of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any other favorite moments from the show?
I just love my interactions, like the evolution of our relationships. Like we are creating our own lore, like when people say, we found out last week, me and Dudney, who plays Monkey Strap, found out last week about the whole Demeter and Monkey Strap love. But in our iteration, like Monkey Strap and Jenny Annie have a thing. Like, Monkey Strap is the one who sings her song, right? Is the one who's like, I have somebody in mind. This is who I want. This is my vote to go through the heavy side layer. And so when he talks about sitting at one point, like Xavier and how, backs his ass up into Monkey Strap. And I get to catch that. And I've built this infatuation with Victoria at the pack. Jalen had come up to me and Shireen, who would play Jelly Lorem at the time, and told us that we should have, we were in need for a lesbian storyline and that he wants us to play that. And so we did. And that was, it was just little moments, probably nobody caught, but little moments that we built in. And then well,
you all are sitting together though, right? Like a lot of the show, you're together at the Broadhurst. Like you're sitting with Macavity side by side most of the time.
Oh, that's Von Ballerina. But with Shireen and Jelly Lorem, we do the trio together, me, Von Ballerina, and Jelly Lorem, singing Jenny Anidas. And there's little moments with Jelly Lorem, but in this iteration, it's played by our lovely Bryson, who is not a woman. And so I was kind of adamant about continuing the lesbian storyline, the sapphic storyline. And I guess Victoria and etc., who was originated by Kaya in our production, he was a beautiful femme queen. They had kind of also adopted the sapphic storyline, but then Kaya has, replaced Leonia. She's been gone, has been standing in for her. And so, but I also was adamant about continuing that. So I've been on Victoria. And so we've all created this kind of spiderweb sapphic relationship, where Victoria is currently dating when etc. is played by Kaya. they play that they are currently girlfriends, but Victoria has history with Rumpelteazer, that's her ex. And I'm looking at Victoria now to try and sell her. So I say I'm her future. But there's all these moments that we are built in where we are looking at each other, where we even, or the archival, this is tea, but we, because now Rum Tum Tugger and Magical Miss Mistopheles don't always kiss, right? And when they don't, Victoria and I sometimes sneak in a kiss right before we get part ways for when Old Deuteronomy is about to, right after Magical Miss Mistopheles, in that moment. So if you catch it, you catch it. But we definitely snuck it into the archives yesterday.
I've not seen that. I did talk to Silk and Sydney about, because the number one fan fiction theory in the Cats universe is the Tugger Mistopheles relationship. And so it is it's what a lot of the art's about it. It's like, so when the first time that I saw it, they didn't, I think it was the first time they actually kissed on stage, was that second performance.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, thank God they really leaned into this theory. And then it's continued. And then actually I went to the first preview and they didn't do it. And I told Sydney on the gold carpet, I'm like, are you all? And it was purely, I think he said there was some preview, sickness and stuff. And I was like, okay, good. You're bringing it back. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I love the lore that you get to add, because it doesn't change the show, but it allows you all to have moments that when people catch. And that's, I think, the beauty of Cats, is that depending on where you're sitting or who you're with, there's those pieces that you can kind of see that add to it. And I think that's so fun. I love that we got to add those, because I hadn't caught a couple of these, and I like these, it makes I'll take the Victoria Rumpelteazer piece when, right before the kind of catwalk part that happens at the beginning.
Yes.
Rumpelteazer tries to go under, and Victoria grabs her by the hood and pulls her back out. And I'm like, that's a very funny, now ex, that's my ex moment, get back in line.
Exactly.
It all fits when you know those things.
And then when they go against each other for tag team performance, it's like, oh, there is just extra beef. They really have to beat each other. The stakes are a little bit juicier.
I love that.
I love all of it. The relationships are really, and finding new ways to connect to cast members and new things to find. Discovery is the fuel of a long run, right? Of doing things over and over again. As for the stage actor in particular. And so I really try and lean into
it's so true. And I think there are the parts like that are, I don't want to call them minor, because they're these character developing parts, but they're not choreography or lyrics or words.
They're story.
But I do know that you've added some pieces. Did you always, you told me on the gold carpet that you added the Devil Wears Prada line.
Yes.
Was that so how much freedom do you have to add that type of stuff, in your small moments? Because I think that line is hilarious, and it's so funny, because there's times after you told me, I didn't hear it the first time, then I heard it clearly the second time. The third time I couldn't hear it because the audience was still laughing from the other parts. And so that line doesn't get even caught. And then I heard it really clearly the last time, and it got a really good laugh. So the moments kind of depend on the audience too.
They absolutely depend on the audience. It's all about formula. I mean, comedy is all about formula, right? And so I think at the Pack, there was, you asked how much freedom that I have. I think I'm lucky because I get a good amount of freedom. There's just spots that I have found to fill in. And they've become kind of I've made a formula out of them. So in the Pack, when I used to get caught by Old Deuteronomy with the flashlight, I actually had a wire in my hands, a plug, that it was assumed that I pulled the plug to start the Macavity beat, right? And then I would say Macavity, but then I would immediately go backstage. And in this iteration, I have some stolen bags, right? So we see the motif of the shiny garbage bags that are full of stolen goods. and I'm taking a piece of it out to see what it is. And then I get called by Old Deuteronomy, but then I have the whole stairs to get down. And I didn't realize that, like, when I discovered that he was following me down with the light and that light was still on me, but I was going down this long staircase and then going all the way off stage, I was like, I gotta fill in this moment. This is so awkward. So I started saying, what I will consistently say is, I got something for that ass, or we got something for that ass. Like, we have something in store for you. But what I discovered maybe like a month in was like the judges, depending on how excited the audience and how recognizable they are to me, but also mostly to the audience, right? I will take inspiration from who they are and try and infuse a line, like come up with a line, and now it's become a group activity. Like, it's something that if I can't come up with something on my own, I will go to my cast members, and we're all brainstorming together. They've all been my soundboard for several moments.
What's been your favorite so far?
My favorite, well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely the one that hit the hardest. Of course, just had the perfect, it had the perfect storm. It had the perfect, like, formula, right? It was a very recognizable person, Cynthia Erivo, right? Very, very popular. Everybody knows her. She has a very irrelevant role that she just, made history, right? So another part that I've now improvised is during the intro of Macavity, right? The that's long anyways, right? Before at the pack, I was filling it in by discovering my bags. But I already do that in this iteration. So in this iteration, Jalen had the bright idea of having a remote and me futzing with the remote to try and turn on the monitors, which would then say House of Macavity, to suggest that we have infiltrated the system and are now getting started with labels our way. That was a whole thing for me to just come up with. And I will sometimes improvise in that moment, right? I'll always try and turn the power on. But this day, when Cynthia Erivo was there, I was turning it on. And there's power on. I like a nom. And I cast it out. And then the stage management turned the screen on at the perfect time. And the crowd went wild for that. So that was the one that hit the hardest. So it was probably my favorite. Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect. I do love that moment because it's like the first time I saw it, I was like, well, I assumed it was, I knew that because I know the show well enough that I knew Macavity was coming, but I didn't know at that point what was going on all the screens. And so I kind of love that, that filler moment to have you have the opportunity there and you get to have some fun there. Yes.
I get to have fun. That was a formula to find out though. And I'm still futzing with it. That's one that I still don't always get right. As far as what to say, how to say it, when people were here, how to show that I'm pressing the buttons. It's all such a craft doing things in theater, on stage for everyone to be able to see and experience.
You're doing that on a table too. So you're on a very small table standing there. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. Okay, let's do some quick rapid fire here to round this out. So if you could play any cat one night, doesn't matter what role, sing it, dance it, doesn't matter, who would you want to perform as?
Maybe Rum Tum Tug.
Tugger, okay. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats from a personality standpoint? So which one would you, Bebe, like to hang out with and which one would bug you?
Oh, I would like to hang out with probably Monkey Strap because I feel like he knows all the tea. I feel like he And I would like to, I just love the chanting and getting to see what he comes up with. But also, yeah, he seems like he knows it all. He's also in the old Deuteronomy, like he knows the tea, I think, and he's not messy about it. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about which one would bug you?
Oh, which one would bug me?
Yeah.
The cat that would bug me the most. I'm honestly thinking, my mind goes to Emma Sophia has made Cassandra like delightfully annoying at times. I don't know. She's like, she is clearly she's clearly on some coke. She's clearly, doing a little tweaking out just a bit. And so I think that she might be a little bit irritating for me.
I told her after the opening night, I messaged her because I forgot, like, the Skimble Shank summer is like becoming a thing, and like she's getting like a lot of recognition for the Skimble Shanks part of the show.
Love that for her.
But I tell everyone that goes to see it, I'm like, but watch her Cassandra, because it's so beautifully chaotic and like frantic.
Yes.
And it's so like she delivers it in such a fun way that I'm like, you're gonna love Skimble Shanks, but I think you're gonna have your mind blown by the like just watching her moments around stage on that first act.
Yes,
it is beautiful.
Yes, beautifully chaotic is it. She is tweaking votes.
It's funny because that is my answer from the Jellicle Ball too, because I'm
really?
I love watching it, but like if I was hanging out with her, I'd be like,
absolutely
chill.
not.
Like,
chill. Exactly.
If you were in one of the houses, which one would you be in? House of Glamour, House of Dots, House of Macavity? Which one would fit your style most?
Would fit my
as you,
style?
yeah, not as Demeter. We already know where Demeter is.
You know what I'm saying? Dang. I know. Could I come up with a different answer other than House of Macavity? Because
you can be in House of Macavity if that's what you feel would be your house.
I do. I just think that they're like the sisterhood, like the connection, the sisterhood and daughter-mother relationship is just so strong that I love that. I'm not down for stealing. Like I can't even steal if I find something that I've accidentally taken outside, like a eyeliner or something. I'm going back in. I'm paying for it. Like I'm not good with that, and I'm a bad liar. But I love the relationship. I love the closeness that House of Macavity has in particular.
You made your Broadway debut in Camelot, right? Is that correct?
I did.
If you could stick one of the cats in Camelot, who are you putting in there?
I feel like, of course, Old Deuteronomy would fit, but Gus would be hilarious in that world. He would just be so out of place, which I would love. But like regal, right? Like opulent. Mm-hmm. But so I just pictured him in the center on the throne himself instead of King Arthur.
Yeah.
But yeah, Old Deuteronomy, I think, would make a lot of sense there. But also, maybe Bustafur. Bustafur would work the best, I think.
Yeah. Yes. I my answer was Old Deuteronomy. That was
Old Deuteronomy, same. Exactly.
Went to that.
Exactly.
But
that would fit. But also Bustafur is English.
Yeah.
England.
Yeah. My $1 million question. So I'd argue at length, I don't think Grisbelle's the right Jellicle choice. So I want to know who is you, Bebe, who's your Jellicle choice and why?
Great. I think I gave you this answer on the red carpet, and I don't think it has changed. Macavity would be who I would send to the heaviside layering. I think the heaviside layer is about transformation. I think it's about renewal, restoration, redemption. I think it's about redemption because, especially in our iteration, you get to see, it's funny because you're like, oh, she comes back and she's all glamorous. But she comes back in the bows. Like the bows are a part of our story. And we all take a bow as our character. We don't take a bow as, he doesn't say our names as the actors. So I think that Macavity has of course, a reputation from the outside. And, you know, within Ballroom, she does put everybody in danger by keeping the tags on, by bringing the cops into the space. And so there is a sort of redemption by the fact that Old Deuteronomy gets brought back. There's a moment built into our production where they reconcile. They have a hug together, oh, thank God you're back kind of moment for everyone to see. But I think that Macavity, I would argue, in every production is in need of redemption.
Yeah.
I
think it's so, this is again what the beauty, to me, one of the beauties of Cats in general, but then also the having such a true reimagining like this, that answer is almost never possible in the other versions, but it's so clear in the Jellicle Ball that is a choice. Macavity has been picked before, but usually for other reasons, not redemption. He's not a redeeming character in Cats. It is a villain, but family villain if you want to play it more wholesome.
Yeah.
And I love that this production, because that is, to me, the biggest change between the shows. Obviously the ballroom elements and that other stuff, but from a storyline and character development, the Macavity storyline is the biggest change. Totally. And I love this version so much more because it fits and it's unique and it's it just kind of makes it a little bit more wholesome and true and fits the ballroom community more.
Right.
But it allows kind of this answer to be a little different, because you would never probably say redemption for Macavity in the other versions.
Right. Maybe not. Or maybe I would, because I feel like the people who are in need of redemption are the ones who are the worst, right?
Yeah.
Who are perceived as the worst, or who have done the most harm. They're in need of a full transformation.
True.
Yeah.
True.
In my sight. Yeah.
This has been so fun. How can people stay in touch with you for everything else you're going to do? And we'll obviously link for a couple more weeks left of the Jellicle Ball for anybody that can make it to New York and come.
Yes. Well, I'll be here for the rest or until August 8th, a week after my birthday. Exactly. We are seething.
Wow.
True Cats.
Yeah.
But I have an Instagram at Bebe. It's DEBEEE, 4 E's, underscore.
We'll link it too.
Yeah, thank you. Underscore Nicole. That's the main way. I'm working on my website. I'm also not the best at Instagram, so please forgive me. But yeah, those are the main ways for now. Yeah,
awesome.
That's the main way.
I am hopeful to be back at least once more, maybe twice more before the end. And I hope everyone who hasn't had a chance to see it, who can get themselves to see it, goes.
I hope so
because
too.
it is, it's such a great show, and I really enjoyed your performance, and
thank
I loved
you.
getting to hear and talk from you. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you again for your tenacity. I'm so glad we finally got to make this happen. It finally happened. Oh,
it
thank
happened,
you.
and it's coming out. It'll be out for the world. So
great. Please let me know when you come to the show.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown the cast after feed. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.